It's 2025. You're staring at home listings and prices keep climbing like there's no ceiling. You saved for years, did everything right. Yet every decent house is already sold to a hedge fund, a shell company, or someone who doesn't even live in the country. Is this just the market being crazy? Or is the system rigged? Section 1, the conspiracy who's buying the world. Let's follow the money, not your money, not my money, their money. And by they, I mean corporations so large they don't even blink at a billion-dollar real estate deal. Let's start with the two names that keep coming up, BlackRock and Vanguard. These aren't just companies, they're institutions. Between them, they manage over $20 trillion in assets. That's more than the GDP of most countries. And they're not content with stocks and bonds anymore, they're after something real. Something that never goes out of style. Land, property, homes. BlackRock, the quiet landlord. After the 2008 housing crash, when millions of Americans lost their homes, BlackRock saw an opportunity. While families were packing boxes and leaving the keys behind, BlackRock was buying entire neighborhoods, cash up front. They created funds specifically to scoop up single-family homes, renovate them, and rent them out. The result? A single firm became the landlord for thousands of American families, and most people didn't even know. They called it investment innovation. But for a lot of people, it felt more like financial colonization. Vanguard, the silent stakeholder. If BlackRock is the buyer, Vanguard is the shareholder. They're deeply invested in REITs, real estate investment trusts. These are big, bundled portfolios of residential and commercial properties. If you've ever rented from a corporate property manager, odds are you were part of a REIT. And here's the twist, BlackRock and Vanguard own shares of each other. That's right. The two biggest players in global finance own parts of each other's business. It's a feedback loop of wealth, and guess what? You're not invited. The Zillow experiment, AI meets housing. Then there's Zillow. Yes, the website you used to check how much your neighbor's house sold for. In 2021-2022, Zillow launched an ambitious plan. Buy homes using AI, renovate, flip, repeat. Sounds smart, right? Until it wasn't. Zillow's algorithm went haywire, overbidding on homes, misjudging values, and losing hundreds of millions. Eventually, they shut down the program. But here's the unsettling part. Even though Zillow failed, the concept didn't. Today, AI bots are back in the game, smarter, faster, and funded by firms with far deeper pockets. These bots don't sleep, don't hesitate, and don't care about school districts or backyard fences. They scan listings in real time and place offers automatically, often above asking price. So while you're waiting on your mortgage broker to return your call, the bot already bought the house. China's buying spree. Let's zoom out. Across the U.S., farmland, residential developments, and even entire ghost towns are being purchased by foreign investors, especially from China. In 2023 alone, foreign entities spent over $53 billion buying U.S. real estate. And while Canada led in overall purchases, China dominated farmland and suburban home acquisitions. Why would a Chinese corporation buy land in Iowa or a neighborhood in North Carolina? Some say it's just investment diversification. Others whisper strategic control. If you control the land, you control the food. If you control the neighborhoods, you influence the people. Sounds far-fetched? Maybe. But it's happening, and lawmakers are starting to take notice. The bigger question, is this a plan? So let's step back and ask the uncomfortable question. What if this isn't just economics? What if it's engineered? There's a famous phrase that keeps making the rounds. You will own nothing and be happy. Attributed or misattributed to the World Economic Forum, this slogan has become a lightning rod for conspiracy theorists. Now, let's be fair. Did the WEF actually say that? Not in so many words. Was it taken out of context? Probably. But that's not the point. Perception is power. And when regular Americans see homes being scooped up by trillion-dollar giants while they get priced out of their own neighborhoods, the theory feels real. Because the struggle is real. The systemic shift. Here's a fact. In the 1960s, over 70% of Americans in their 30s owned homes. Today, it's under 50%. And that's not just inflation or bad luck. That's systemic change. Wages have stagnated. Home prices have doubled or tripled. Student loan debt crushed the savings power of an entire generation. And now, we're competing with bots and billionaires. So again, ask yourself, is this just how markets evolve? Or were we never meant to win this game in the first place? What we're seeing may be part of a larger pattern. Rentership is rising across the board. Corporate ownership of residential homes has more than tripled since 2011. Young families are forced to rent longer or forever. And when everyone rents, the few who own everything control everything. They set the prices. They write the rules, and we follow because we have no choice. This isn't a Section 2, why it matters to you. Let me ask you something. Do you remember when owning a home felt like a goal, not a gamble? There was a time when your parents, or maybe your grandparents, bought a house in their 20s. A yard. A mortgage they could afford. A neighborhood where kids rode bikes and neighbors actually talked to each other. That dream is slipping away, and fast. Today, buying a home feels more like trying to win the lottery with rigged tickets. First-time buyers, locked out. Let's break it down. If you're a first-time home buyer in America right now, here's what you're up against. Home prices have outpaced wages by over 150% since 2000. The average down payment on a starter home, nearly $50,000 in many urban areas. Mortgage interest rates doubled from 2021 to 2023. And then just when you thought it couldn't get worse, you realize you're not even bidding against people anymore. You're up against corporations. Hedge funds, algorithms, these aren't families saving up. They're billion-dollar machines buying in bulk. It's like trying to buy groceries while Amazon is buying the whole store. The rent trap, you can't buy, so what do? You rent, but guess what? The rent isn't just too damn high, it's strategically high. As institutional investors acquire more single-family homes, they raise rent in lockstep, sometimes across entire zip codes. Why? Because they can. If a fund owns 300 homes in a city, it doesn't need to compete on price. It sets the price. And renters, you're stuck in a cycle paying high rent, unable to save, unable to qualify for a mortgage, and thus permanently renting. That's not housing, it's financial incarceration. Ghost neighborhoods, hollow communities. Now let's talk about neighborhoods. You ever walked through a new development and wondered why it felt empty? Welcome to the era of ghost neighborhoods. These aren't horror movies. They're HOA-managed investment zones. Investors buy blocks of homes, but no one lives in them. They sit empty, waiting for value to rise or for short-term rentals to be activated during peak season. The result? No kids playing outside, no block parties, no neighbors to borrow sugar from, just driveways with no cars, porches with no lights, and families priced out of the communities they grew up in. What you get isn't just real estate inflation, it's cultural erosion. Because when homes become assets instead of places to live, the soul of a town disappears. Suburbia's new shape. Picture a small town in Ohio. 10 years ago, it was filled with young couples, starter homes, weekend barbecues. Fast forward to today, 40% of the homes are owned by out-of-state LLCs. Median rent has gone up 60%. Local families have moved further out or doubled up with relatives. Schools are underfunded because empty homes don't create kids, and kids drive school funding. It's the Walmartification of housing. Low competition, high control, no accountability. And it's spreading from Atlanta to Phoenix, Austin to Boise. Feeling squeezed? You're not alone. Let's stop pretending this is just the market doing its thing. You're not crazy for feeling like something's off, because it is. This isn't about you being bad with money. It's not about avocado toast or lattes or not working hard enough. It's about a system that was recoded while we were busy trying to keep up. The average American needs 13 years of savings just to afford a 20% down payment on a median home. Meanwhile, a hedge fund needs 13 minutes to buy the block. That's not competition, that's predation. Generational consequences. Think about the ripple effect. If young adults can't buy homes, they delay marriage and family planning. They don't build equity, they retire later or never, and they pass on fewer assets to their children. That's how generational wealth disappears quietly over decades. Your grandparents had equity, your parents had equity. What will you pass on? A perfect credit score and a lifetime of rent receipts. That's not the American dream. That's the subscription model of life. The bigger game, so why should you care? Because the longer we ignore what's happening, the more permanent it becomes. This isn't a temporary spike in prices, it's a structural shift. We are witnessing the transformation of homeownership into a premium product like private school or healthcare. And guess what? The average American isn't invited to that premium tier. Unless you take action, unless you understand the game, you'll always be playing catch-up. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed, just not for you. They told us, get a job, stay out of trouble, save your money. but they didn't tell us the rules would change midway. And now, Section 3, 5 Home Buying Tips for 2025. Now let's shift gears. You can't outspend a $1 trillion hedge fund. But you don't have to, because this isn't about being richer, it's about being smarter. Homeownership in 2025 is like navigating a minefield. But the good news? If you understand the landscape, you can still find a path forward. Let's break it down. 5 practical strategies that put power back in your hands. 1. No local laws and incentives. There's free money out there, but no one's going to tell you about it unless you ask. Most first-time buyers don't realize how many local, state, and federal programs are designed to help them buy a home. These include first-time homebuyer grants. Many states offer thousands of dollars in down payment assistance. Tax abatements. You may be able to waive property taxes for the first 5-10 years in certain redevelopment zones. Federal programs like FHA, VA, and USDA loans. These let you buy homes with low to zero down payments and often at lower interest rates. Example, in Ohio, the Your Choice Down Payment Assistance program offers up to $8,000 for first-time buyers. In Texas, TDHCA helps low-income families with closing costs. Not all help comes from banks. Sometimes it comes from City Hall. Pro tip, call your city or county housing office. Ask for all the available home buying incentives. You'd be surprised how much goes unclaimed. 2. Get pre-approved early. You wouldn't walk into a poker game with no chips. Same goes for house hunting. Getting pre-approved means a lender has reviewed your finances and is willing to lend you up to a specific amount. This makes you a serious buyer, and in this market, serious buyers win. Here's why it matters. Homes are flying off the market in days, sometimes hours. Sellers often reject offers from buyers who aren't pre-approved. It shows you're ready, not just browsing. Example. In 2024, homes in Phoenix, AZ averaged 7 days on the market. Without pre-approval, you're already too late. A pre-approval letter is the modern-day sword. You need it to battle the bidding wars. Pro tip. Don't confuse pre-approval with pre-qualification. One is a real commitment, the other is a polite guess. 3. Go off the map. The American dream doesn't only live in California, New York, or Miami. Trendy cities are priced like luxury handbags. But there's hope in second-tier markets, places with potential but less attention. Look at upstate New York, Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse. Midwestern towns, Cincinnati, Des Moines, Peoria. Rural zones with fiber internet and transit expansion. Southern Zoom towns like Chattanooga or Fayetteville. These areas offer lower prices, lower competition, higher potential for appreciation. Example, a 3-bedroom home in Des Moines may cost $220,000 compared to $850,000 in Denver. Don't follow the crowds, follow the data. Pro tip, use tools like Redfin or Zillow's price history and migration trends to spot emerging hotspots. 4. Watch out for rent-to-own scams. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably comes with hidden fees and legal traps. Rent-to-own arrangements are marketed as a pathway to homeownership, but many are structured to benefit landlords, not tenants. Here's what can go wrong. You pay extra rent toward a future down payment, but miss one payment. You lose it all. Repairs are your responsibility, even though you don't own the property. If the seller defaults on their mortgage, you can get evicted, even if you've been paying. Example, a 2022 investigation in Atlanta found that over 40% of rent-to-own contracts ended in evictions or terminations, leaving buyers with nothing. It's not a stepping stone, it's a sinkhole in disguise. Pro tip, if you must consider rent-to-own, get everything reviewed by a real estate attorney, not just a realtor. 5. Think like an investor. Even if you're buying your dream home, remember, it's also your biggest financial asset. When you think like an investor, you ask better questions. Will this home appreciate in 5-10 years? Is the school district desirable even if you don't have kids? What's the rental demand in this area? Can I Airbnb a portion of the property? Example, buying a duplex and renting the other unit can reduce your monthly cost by over 50%, sometimes even to zero. In 2025, buying smart is the new buying big. Even if you're not planning to rent today, you want that option later, because flexibility equals security. Pro tip, look for homes with accessory dwelling units, ADUs, finished basements, or extra bedrooms. These are assets, not just features. You're buying freedom, not just a house. You're not just buying 4 walls and a roof. Section 4, Real Estate Investing for Beginners. What if you flipped the script? What if you stopped renting and started collecting rent? Sounds like a fantasy, right? But here's the thing, it's possible. You don't need to be rich. You just need to be smart and maybe a little bold. Because real estate investing is no longer just for the wealthy, it's for the strategic. Step 1, start small, start smart. Let's say you don't have $100,000 in the bank. No problem. There are entry points into real estate investing designed for regular people, especially first-time buyers. FHA loan 3. 5% down. You don't need to put down 20% anymore. That's a myth from your parents' generation. An FHA loan, backed by the Federal Housing Administration, lets you buy a home with as little as 5% down. That's just $7,000 on a $200,000 property. Key benefits: easier credit requirements, lower down payment, fixed rate stability. Example: a couple in Ohio used an FHA loan to buy a duplex for $180,000. They lived in one unit, rented out the other for $1,200 a month, and covered 80% of their mortgage. USDA loan 0% down. Yes, 0. Think rural means remote, think again. A USDA loan, backed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, is one of the most underrated tools in the game. It's designed to promote homeownership in eligible rural and suburban areas, many of which are only 30-60 minutes outside major cities. Perks: 0 down payment, low mortgage insurance costs, competitive interest rates. Example: a single teacher in North Carolina bought a 3-bedroom home near Greensboro with 0 down using a USDA loan. She paid less per month than she did renting in the city. Step 2, learn the house hacking method. Want to live for free? You're gonna need some roommates, or better yet, tenants. House hacking is the ultimate starter strategy. Here's how it works. 1, buy a multi-unit property, duplex, triplex, fourplex. 2, live in one unit. 3, rent out the other. 4, use the rental income to cover or reduce your mortgage. Why it works: qualifies as an owner-occupied loan, lower rates, builds equity while you live, creates positive cash flow if done right. Example: a 28-year-old in Minneapolis bought a triplex for $260,000. He lived in one unit, rented the other 2 for $2,100 a month combined. His mortgage, $1,750. Result: free housing plus $350 profit. It's not glamorous, but it's genius. Step 3, think long-term, not quick flip. Everyone wants fast money. But in real estate, the tortoise wins. This isn't about flipping homes in 6 months. It's about owning assets that grow over time. Real estate has 3 major powers. 1, appreciation. Over time, property values tend to rise, especially in growing markets. That's built-in equity. 2, cash flow. When your tenant's rent exceeds your mortgage and expenses, that's monthly passive income. 3, leverage. Real estate is one of the few assets you can buy with borrowed money and still keep all the upside. Example: you buy a home with 5% down. Over 10 years, the property value rises 30%. That growth applies to the whole value, not just your down payment. You use the bank's money to grow your wealth. That's how the rich get richer. Bonus benefits: why real estate is a wealth builder. Let's break this down. Real estate isn't just a place to live or a way to make rent money. It's a multifunctional asset class. It beats inflation. Rents and property values often rise with or faster than inflation, protecting your money's value. Creates leverage. $10K in stocks buys $10K in stocks. $10K in real estate could control a $250K property. Builds generational wealth. You can pass real estate down, or sell it and use the profits to fund education, retirement, or your next investment. Offers tax advantages: mortgage interest deduction, depreciation write-offs, and 1031 exchanges, which let you defer capital gains taxes. Owning a home is the closest thing most Americans will ever have to printing money. But isn't being a landlord a headache? Sure, it's not for everyone, but it's more manageable than you think. You don't need to be a slumlord or fix toilets at 2 a.m. You can hire a property manager for 8–10% of monthly rent. Screen tenants properly. Set clear lease terms and use online rent collection tools. And with short-term rental platforms like Airbnb or long-term sites like Furnished Finder, you can diversify your income strategy based on local demand. Reminder: even one rental unit can change your financial future. From tenant to owner to investor, Most people never question the cycle they're stuck in. Rent, pay, repeat. But the door-ending wake-up call and empowerment. You may not have the billions that BlackRock does. You don't own entire zip codes. You don't have bots scanning MLS listings while you sleep. But you do have something they don't. You have the power to move first on your level. And in 2025, that matters more than ever. Because while the rich are getting richer and homes are being swallowed up by faceless corporations, you still have one powerful weapon. The right knowledge at the right time applied with action can close the gap faster than you think. The real game, ownership, is control. Let's be real. The dream of homeownership in America was never just about having a place to live. It was about freedom. It was about security. It was about control over your own future. When you own a home, you control your housing costs. You build equity instead of paying someone else's mortgage. You can leverage your asset to build wealth or weather a crisis. But more importantly, you have skin in the game, a stake in your town, in your block, in your future. The system won't save you. Let's stop pretending the system is going to fix itself. Washington won't bail you out. Wall Street won't back off. Zillow won't apologize, and the bots, they don't care either way. You have to think like an underdog because you are one. But underdogs can win too, it just takes better timing. Smarter strategy, relentless awareness. That's why you're watching this channel. Because you know something's off, and you're ready to do something about it. Rewrite the script. The dream isn't dead, it's just being rewritten, and guess what? The pen is in your hand. Don't let the narrative be written for you. Because if you don't define what ownership, freedom, and wealth mean in your life, someone else will. And their version, it ends with you renting forever, paying forever, waiting forever. But your version, it starts with saving that first 5,000, getting pre-approved even if you're unsure, looking in an overlooked town with real potential, learning how real estate works instead of hoping prices drop. Because the market doesn't care about hope. It rewards preparedness. A mindset shift equals a financial shift. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be rich. You just need to get into the game. It's not about owning 10 properties. It's about owning one with strategy, with intention, with clarity. From there, the doors start opening. And here's a hard truth. No one's coming to save you, but you're not helpless. In fact, you're holding something more powerful than any bailout. Self-education. In a rigged game, knowledge is the only cheat code. Fuel for the fight. You ever get tired of hearing you're too late? That Gen Z will never afford homes. That millennials missed the boat. That Gen Alpha will be born into debt. Let them say it. Let them believe it. But you're going to act anyway. Because even in a rigged system, even in an unfair market, even in a world built for the few, there are still cracks in the wall. And the ones who find them, they walk through. Your move, if this hit you hard, good. It was supposed to. Now let's channel that frustration into forward motion. Here's your challenge. Subscribe because no one else is breaking down the system and giving you tools to break out of it. Share this video with someone who's tired of paying rent and getting nowhere. Comment below, do you think the housing market is rigged? And what's your strategy to beat it? This is the Budget Boss US signing off. But before you click away, remember this. Knowledge isn't just power. In 2025, it's the